So it would be great to just start by talking a little bit about HawkeZ and to just give everyone a background. I know that this whole panel is about marketing to Gen Z and the different tactics that are used. So Josh, maybe you could give us a little bit of a rundown of what exactly you do at HawkeZ.
Yeah, of course. I mean, for us, it's really being able to lend our expertise when it comes to reaching an audience, reaching Gen Z. Where Griffin and myself are people that have our finger on the pulse and really are the pulse of this generation and what they're watching on a day-to-day basis and what videos they're deciding to interact with and what their interactions with those videos are. It's really analyzing all of that and being able to lend the years and years of being in front of those cameras and making those videos and understanding what our audience wants. No one's able to understand an audience better than the people that actually obtain that audience. So yeah, I think that's really where we're able to show a lot of value.
Yeah, and you described the agency as a platform where, quote, experience and hype meet. So I think we have, I can hold that question. I think we have Griffin joining us now. Griffin, hi, welcome to the show.
Man, they really put my background in there nice and zoomed in. How's it going?
It looks beautiful. You did great work there. So maybe you can take this question. I was just asking about how the agency brands itself as a platform where experience and hype meet. So what exactly does that mean? How would you describe hype in your own words? And how does that combine with experience to create the HawkeZ experience?
Yeah, for me, it's like for the hype, I guess it's the amount of followers and following that Josh and I have brought from our platforms. Obviously, that's super valuable because brands want that same hype and following for their own brands. And then with the experience, Hawk is obviously a mogul in the marketing space, and Eric has crushed it. And everyone knows Hawk as being simple. That's what their whole message is. So it's kind of a combination of the experience of simplicity. And obviously the results that Hawk has already brought and, what has allowed them to be so successful on top of, the hype and kind of the success and following that Josh and I have brought from our platforms.
Yeah. And Eric, is there anything you would want to add to that? Why did you decide to tap these two Gen Z heartthrobs for HawkeZ?
Other than what you just said, they're Gen Z heartthrobs. Honestly, spent some time with these guys, and this was born out of, we were hanging out at dinner, and I knew them. I knew their manager, Michael Gruen, and was working with them on some stuff. And they were talking about how all these brands were hitting them up and wanting to work with them. Frankly, they weren't finding a way to scale it and to manage a lot of it. And at the same time, we were dealing with a lot of our clients trying to figure out how to reach a new generation. I always feel old saying this, but being a millennial, Gen Z is a new generation. And so there's a completely different priorities, different messaging, different things resonate. And so it seemed like a match made in heaven. We were sitting at dinner and it was like, well, why don't we start an agency together? You guys can help us with messaging this new up and coming generation. We have all the infrastructure we need to really kick it off, and the partnership could be great. And then, we talked about what's the dream client? What should we start with? They said Crocs. So lucked out that we knew some people there, reached out, and they were the ones that gave us, first faith, so to speak, and working with us.
That sounds like a beautiful love story, and that everything came together so romantically. So Josh and Griffin, my question for you is, either of you could answer this. A lot of brands we see on TikTok really try to be authentic, but sometimes they may take it too far to the point where we all know we're scrolling through TikTok and we see something that's just a little bit too cringy, where a brand tries too hard to be relatable. So what would you say are the biggest mistakes that brands make when they market to Gen Z on social media and specifically TikTok?
I mean, I think one of the biggest mistakes is trying to I think play to Gen Z when they're not Gen Z themselves, or they're not getting other Gen Z people to influence their decision, right? They think that they know because of watching a bunch of other videos or looking at one selective social media influencer and judging it off their post. But when you're going for audiences, all audiences are really going to be attracted to something different. And that's what I think is the root of authentic ad. And that's when people say, oh, what works with Gen Z? It's being authentic. It's not just about doing something that could be real or someone could imagine or could relate to. It's really going to that creator and having them understand their niche audience and how to communicate to them and how to speak to them on a multitude of levels, and having them actually be involved in the creative instead of trying to spin the creative onto the creator.
Yeah, no, you said that well. I mean, essentially what it boils down to is like, I feel like brands, they come to creators and they want to pay them to do their job, but they don't allow them to do their job. And like, that's what I say a lot. It's like, if you're going to pay me, let me do my job. Let me create content and do things. There's a reason why my audience is there and why it follows me. And then, they want to tell me how to create a video or how they want it done or what words they want to be said. So it's really what it boils down to, honestly.
Right. Eric, is there anything you want to add about lessons that you've learned in terms of really understanding this audience and this demographic?
Yeah, again, and even Miguel said it in there. They're just different audiences. So everything that we've been doing in ways we've built businesses and what's worked the past decade, now you've got Gen Z. I think the oldest Gen Z is 25. So you're talking about people that now have disposable income and have grown up in a completely different world. Like millennials are probably, what highlights their sort of coming to adulthood is the 2008 crash, which you see, sort of a different level of pessimism, I think, with the world from millennials because of what they grew up in. I think you honestly, from my experience, and this is more personal anecdote, you see a little more optimism, a little more drive from Gen Z as a whole. And then you also see a different level of priorities. I think that because it wasn't as bad during, the sort of coming to adulthood for Gen Z, barring the past year and a half aside, I think you see this is getting a little maybe scientific, but like you have Maslow's hierarchy, basic needs recovered, so they're freed up to think about things that are frankly bigger problems, like what are the causes that are driving your company, how are you dealing with the certain specific problems in the world, whether it's DEI, whether it's climate change. All these things are starting to be looked at as not just a nice to have with a brand, but important. Like an important part is, what do you stand for? What are you actually doing with, for the world around you, other than I just like your product, I'll just buy it. And I think that's been a big indicator of that generation versus my own.
Yeah. And what I've really noticed on TikTok is that people obviously don't go on that platform to look at ads. They go on that platform to look at the content from their creators and to look at what Josh and Josh and Griffin, for example, are up to. So to really have these creators create the ads themselves is something that I think is really important to reaching Gen Z. And when we talk about TikTok, I mean, the impact this platform has had is just so totally different from what we've seen in other platforms, just in terms of being able to discoverability, being able to discover and find new talent. So I would love to talk to Josh and Griffin about, what do you love about TikTok and how has the platform shaped your careers?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, TikTok gives people the ability to go viral overnight, but it also gives you the ability, if you're able to do it right, to continuously captivate an audience and really build something special. And what me and Griffin have been able to do is not just build that audience, but start teaching that audience financial literacy, start to have that audience get engaged in our investments, start to be able to not just do the brand deals, but tell which brands to go and make deals with other people. It's really leveraging something as like your following, leveraging that following to be able to do so much more than just post videos online. And me and Griffin decided to go down one path of entrepreneurship, but there's so many different that you can go into. You see people going into the other worlds, like even like with my production company and going into acting, or people that are using that to leverage themselves and get into the industry of music. Like there's just so many different paths you can really go on if you cultivate the right audience. And I think that's what's so special about it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, following up, kind of another cool thing is, with the older generations, there's always been a lot of like gatekeeping or barriers or things that you necessarily couldn't do in the past because it's such a system, to rank up and do things. And I think TikTok has allowed, kids to build businesses and do things regardless of their age or where they were born or, you know, what their upbringing was. So I think that's another cool thing that TikTok has allowed people to do, is kind of break down those stigmas and those barriers, you know, coming from a kid that's from a small Midwest town with 5,000 people.
Yeah, it really has broken down some barriers. We have a question from our audience about hashtags on TikTok. I'm sure that you've all seen this before. Sometimes people will use hashtags that don't relate at all to the actual video that they're creating. So why do you think that TikTokers use hashtags that may not be relevant to their video, is the question from the audience.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a couple reasons. Sometimes people will actually use those hashtags to catch your eye, right? If you're watching the video now more than once, or you stayed on the video for an extra 3 seconds because they put some strange hashtag, or it's just it's something out of the box that is catching your eye, that's going to get pushed on the For You page more, right? That's going to get more and more people watching it. So, and that strategy doesn't always work, but sometimes it randomly does. Another reason is because there might be a certain trend that's going on and they're using that hashtag. So this video that has nothing to do with the trend is being put into a bunch of, or is being put into a hashtag with a bunch of high traffic. So even though it might not relate to the trend at all, it's still being probably seen by thousands of more people, just because there are so many people looking through that hashtag and looking through that trend at the time. So I'd say that's probably the main reason.
Yeah, so that definitely makes sense. You kind of have to do what you can to get ahead and hope that your content sees the right people and gets some time in the sun. So is TikTok, Diana N has a question, is TikTok not the platform if your target audience is more early 30s to mid 50s?
Definitely still the platform. I think that TikTok has been able to grow now across such wide demographics. I mean, like I saw a video, it's the most random thing ever, but I saw a video of my uncle, who's actually a policeman, and he was helping someone push their car across like a intersection when the lights were out in Calgary. So it's like it had 4 likes on it, or like 4 comments on it from all people that were in that town, that were parents in the town. It's like it just happened to be on my For You page, right? So there's so many different audiences. There's so many different places you can go on TikTok. Like everyone thinks that they go on the app and they watch their first 10 videos and that's how the whole app is. Well, as you get more and more involved into TikTok, also it starts really becoming that For You page, right? And there's just so many different sides between cooking and, I mean, heck, there's like witch talk, right? So it's like you can really find anything on there. There's every audience. So
Josh, is this your way of telling us that you're on witch talk?
Witch talk.
I tried to slide it in there a little bit, like, you know, but you figured it out.
Yeah, I think it's. Or go ahead, Griffin.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, people. This is a good question. People ask me all the time if they should like start their business on there. Like they'll say like, "Will real estate?" or they'll say like, "Will cooking?" or like, "Will fashion?" Like the thing is with TikTok, like obviously, you know, there's the content like houses and all of that side that went super like mainstream and viral. But there's so many different creators on there you'll see them with millions of followers and you'll be like, who is this? You click on their page and they're like, you know, there's something very niche. But you could literally, there's everything on TikTok, all demos, all ages, for pretty much anything you're interested in.
Yeah, it really is a democracy. And we have a question from Brenda, who wants to know, as Gen Z TikTok marketing geniuses that you are, who is creating content on TikTok that really resonates with you? What are the brands, maybe not the ones that you directly work with, but brands that create content on TikTok that you think is genuinely effective or funny or worthwhile?
Yeah. So, I mean, when we looked at a couple brands actually recently, of just like brands that we thought did really well, there was one that stuck out to me, and it stuck out to me for a while, but through all social medias, not just TikTok alone, but through Instagram and others, was Glamnetic. They absolutely have crushed it across all platforms on social media when they're going for marketing. And then another is actually the NFL. The NFL has done such an incredible job on TikTok in marketing and getting their videos out there. And not only that, the NFL page has a page, but every single team has a page as well, and every single team is interacting with the 7-year-old kid that made the crazy foam football catch in his backyard and is posting his highlight clip on TikTok because he wants a couple of his friends from school to see it and maybe to impress a couple of girls he has a crush on in his class. But now he's also getting the feeling of having the Cincinnati Bengals comment underneath his posts, and it's creating so much virality for that league. I mean, between the mic'd up players going out there, between teams actually going back and forth at each other and roasting each other, and it's such a cool community of sorts on the app of TikTok. So I think those are the two that I give to.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was literally going to say Glamnetic. And also the Detroit Lions, if you look at their TikTok, it's absolute, like their comments, they're super engaged. They have like the craziest funny content. It's funny you said that because that's literally two that stick out to me heavily. And Glamnetic is like submerged themselves and actually took the time, and you can just tell whenever you get on the platform, you see their comments, what they're saying. They're in the trends, the most viral videos at the moment. That was a great answer.
I don't think these guys even know that the founders of Glamnetic are speaking at eCom Week. So good plug. But yeah, I'd also say Red Bull. They've broken it up into all sorts of channels, and so I don't know. I'm a diehard snowboarder, so the Red Bull Snow channel or page has been.
I heard Andy Energy's better.
Andy Energy solid from a brand standpoint. When you guys get snowboard content, I'm in. And then Barstool, I got to call them out. Josh has a partnership with them too, but I think they do a great job on the content side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you know me, you know that I specialize in asking people questions and then answering them, even though no one asked me. But I would say that my favorite brand on TikTok has to be Chipotle. I don't know if you guys saw they did a video of the classic gym bro ordering at Chipotle, and he's like, yo, can I get a beans, please? And just the way that he sort of like embodies that gym bro character of needing your protein after doing like leg day or something.
Yeah.
Chipotle like so knows how to make fun of their consumer base and stay lighthearted. And being able to make fun of yourself, I think, is one of the main ways to stay relevant on TikTok.
100%.
Yep.
So we have a question here, a little bit less lighthearted than what we were talking about before. Someone brought up the documentary, The Social Dilemma, and just talking about the link between anxiety and depression, mental health, and platforms. What are your thoughts on that type of impact on society and culture these platforms have, and maybe if there's a certain social responsibility that we have to keep them contained?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely it's a hard thing to walk away from your phone sometimes, right? I think people really do get trapped, and they do get that anxiety of feeling like, all right, but what could someone be commenting now about me, or what could someone be commenting now about me? But from someone that's probably had millions and millions of people tell me how much they hate me, I can say from experience that it's like it's really, you got to limit yourself to how much time you're spending in that social media world, and how much you're not, and then on the other facet, not just like sitting in your room all day when you're not on it. Like, you got to be able to go out and do things. You got to be able to surround yourself by people that you know, love, and care about you, and that you have that family around you, or else it's a really hard world to just live in all the time, because it's a highlight reel. People are posting their highlight reels and posting the best parts of their lives. So then you're going on and you're comparing your best 1% to other people's best 1%, and trying to always make your 1% look better than theirs, but no one else is ever talking about the 99% of your life. And that's the part that matters, and that's the part that you gotta have those people around you, surrounded around you, that love you and care about you. So for me, it's I put 15-minute timers on my social media, and it's like, yeah, I'm not saying I only go on social media for 15 minutes, but what it does is it can put a lock on my app every 15 minutes. So if I'm going into the app, I'm very consciously going into the app. It's not just, a muscle memory of going onto Instagram and checking it out. It's like, oh shit, okay, I'm typing in my code. I'm saying I'm going to go on a Snapchat for another 15 minutes. I'm saying I'm going to go on TikTok for another 15 minutes. So it's like, it's being registered in my brain. And I think that helps me a lot. So if anyone else would like to give their, I don't know, strategies, Griffin or Eric, go for it.
Yeah. Go for it, Griffin, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always a difficult thing. This is like one of the number one questions I feel like, we get asked. And the honest answer is sometimes it's, really difficult, and, everyone does different things. For me, to be honest, I've never been huge into caring about what people say, but there are times whenever it does suck. And I think at this point, I've read so many hate comments about myself that I'm just like, whatever. Um, but if I did have to deal with it, and I've gone through things in the past, I think for me, it's the only answer is just put it down and touch base with reality again. Because I think people get consumed, and they consumed to other people's lives that they don't even know, or in the world itself. So I think you just have to make sure that you're always doing things that you love and keeping that sense of reality.
Yeah, I think both these guys nailed it in terms of part of it is just having perspective and knowing that like there's going to be haters that who knows who they are sitting by, like who someone taking the time to hate on someone on the internet says a lot about the individual. So if that's happening and you're getting cyberbullied, so to speak, I think you just got to put into context like it really doesn't affect you unless you let it. As far as the image stuff, I think Instagram, frankly, is a lot worse than TikTok from what I've seen. And there was a study I saw recently. I'm trying to remember where it was, but it basically talked deeply into Instagram's all about just straight image. So when you have people posting their bodies and things, and there's this, it can cause a lot of body dysmorphia and problems because you're looking at these people and going, how do I ever look like them? With TikTok, it's more real content, it's entertainment, it's something actually happening. It's not just about that image. So what this study was saying is people are actually dealing with a lot less depression caused by TikTok than they were from Instagram, which is an interesting change too.
I think it's also a little bit because on TikTok, people are, and we keep going back to this word, but they're a little bit more authentic. They show a little bit more of their life than the 1%, because it's so easy, right? It's like you just tap a video. It's almost like putting on an Instagram story or putting on something quick, like you're sending a video to your friends. Like people are filming with no ring light and just in their basement, and videos are getting 2 million likes. So I think it's really that ability to just have anything go viral is what I think allows it to be a lot more I guess almost like open-minded of an app.
Yeah. I mean, people go on TikTok because I think they become exhausted with Instagram, and they say, let me see some real shit. Let me see people actually being funny and going viral for bringing something to the table or talking about their embarrassing stories. So I think those are great points and really segue nicely into the changing definition of influencer marketing. I mean, at one point we thought of influencers as those girls that went on The Bachelor and didn't end up getting picked. So they used that as their second career and just kind of catapulted into fame. And now we're seeing that the definition of an influencer is literally anyone. I mean, some people don't even like to subject themselves to that word because they feel like it's kind of a dirty word at this point, the classic influencer, one type of man or woman. So I mean, that's my perspective from covering it as a reporter, but how do you guys feel from your side that influencer marketing is changing, and what can people expect next from the space?
So yeah, what I've seen because I've been doing influencer marketing for a decade, and when I first jumped into it, it was basically anyone with a blog. There were no Instagram influencers. So it was like, we're going to grab a bunch of bloggers, we're going to send them free stuff, and they're going to post about it, and we're going to get SEO, and maybe one of them will take off. And I remember with that campaign, it was an activewear brand. We ended up driving hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales from a blog that generally got like 400 views a month because it ranked for discount activewear. So whenever someone Googled discount activewear, her blog post about our brand showed up, which worked out. So that's how it worked way back then. Then you had sort of what we've all seen with the rise of the sort of digital influencer, and on Instagram originally was really where we saw a lot of traction, some YouTube as well. There was a time where you really could just, early on, you could just hire any influencer you wanted, and you had a really solid chance of making it make sense because it was so new. And this is all pre-Fire Festival and the FTC. That's really where a big shift happened originally, was when the FTC finally said you have to disclose that you're doing an advertisement. All of a sudden, all that trust you were building from influencers kind of went out the window. And so, and then it really became it goes back to like, if you can find a great partner and an influencer that really has a brand that resonates with their audience, and your brand are going to resonate together, and it's a great partnership, it works really well. If you're just going to flood the market with a bunch of random influencers, you're going to really lose a lot of money. But want to give time to these guys too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you pretty much should have hit the nail on the head there. It's definitely changing a lot, and I think that like it's playing to those niche audiences, like we've been saying.
Yeah, so my final question for you, Josh and Griffin, if there was no such thing as social media, sometimes I dream of a world like that. How do you think that you'd be spending your time?
Yeah, I've always been someone that's hustled and loved the game of entrepreneurship. So I think that it would be something along the lines of a hockey company, or maybe somewhere in sports, but it would definitely still be in the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I was already in nursing school when I started, and it was kind of an accident for me. So I think I would probably still be in that box, and I would probably be at a hospital wiping someone's butt right now. So I'm super blessed.
That's beautiful. And now you're talking to me at e-commerce week. So maybe a little bit of a step up, but thank you all for this great conversation. It was super fun, and I will pass it over to Chitty.